Alright, great. I actually recorded this video once before I realized that my mic was completely off during the recording, so here I am redoing it again. Anyways, as some of you might know, in Alpha there's currently changes to the Spider Slayer, and they're adding a few cool items. The ones that seem the most interesting are the Primordial, and what it does is basically when you kill an enemy, besides a few select bosses and mini bosses, there's a chance that it cocoons the enemy and then hatches them again for you to kill again. And what this means is you have, uh, this is especially useful, as the admin said, for Diana, Skatha, Zealots, and I guess also Slayer bosses, because obviously it's like you get to kill the mob again and have a chance at getting extra drops, right? So the interesting things are obviously the Primordial, which is the gear item that allows this to happen, the Reforge for belts that adds a 2.5% chance to cocoon, as well as the mosquito pets, which when max, as in level 100, it will basically double the chance that the cocooning actually happens. So yeah, the reason I decided to make this video was because this was slightly interesting, at least more interesting to me than the foraging update. And I was talking with some friends about this, and I decided to do some math because, yeah. So here I've set up a few things. If for this example, like x along the x-axis is always going to be, uh, it's just always just going to be it's going to represent how much magic find you have. Here I have C for chance. This is the chance that cocooning happens. Uh, this is the max possible right now according to the admin notes. This could be higher or lower. Everything's still in alpha, they're still changing stuff. But currently in alpha, there's a 5% chance to cocoon, and a 2.5% for the Reforge. I don't know if this Reforge bonus gets doubled by the Mosquito Pets perk, but for the sake of these examples and just showing like the absolute limits, I will consider the Reforge bonus to also get doubled by the Mosquito Pet. So yeah, currently in alpha, there's 5% chance here. If you have the Reforge, 7.5% chance. Let's say the Mosquito Pet is able to double the Reforge bonus as well. So you end up with a 15% chance. But I'm going by these notes that are saying like, they could bring it anywhere up to 15%, which means at that point, if you slap on the Reforge, it's 17.5% chance. And then if you use the Mosquito Pet, and it does double the Reforge, then you end up with a 35% chance to cocoon an enemy, right? So here I have P for if you're using Primordial, right? If you're going down the Primordial route, then then hoping to, you're hoping to double, or you're hoping to cocoon the mob and basically get to kill it like a second time, right? So this one here means that, it's like the whole thing of your original base magic find, right? Um, and then this chance here is the chance that, you have the mob like cocooned and it spawns again, and then, if it does happen, it happens with the chance, and, you apply your magic find again, right? Um, this is just from expectation and probability. I don't want to get into it because, this is a YouTube video. This isn't really like a statistics course, but yeah, it's called expectations. And yeah, so this is the expectation, I guess, that, well, okay, without getting into too many specifics, this is related to how much more likely you are to drop something. All right, an expectation, like this value P, it's not like an exact like drop chance, but it's related to how much more likely your thing is going to drop. Right here, I have R for regular. This is going to take your base magic find, and then I have G here, which means G drag because uh, what's the difference between if you're going for cocooning an enemy to try to kill it more than once, or just killing it once regularly with with your G-Drag, right? So obviously, it's like the magic find that you would have had anyways, but also the magic find that you lose by using mosquito instead of a G-Drag. Now, this is the absolute max like final magic find that's used in the like drop chance calculation. This value I got from the maximum magic find on your G-Drag if you have a Minos Relic plus max gold collection. And then considering you have a Daedalus Axe with Chimera 5, and you have 4 pieces of Renowned, plus you've also Shuriken the boss. Obviously, this will be lower if you don't have as many buffs, if you don't have Chimera 5, or if you're not using the Daedalus Axe, or, you didn't Shuriken the boss, or you're not using Renowned or something, right? Obviously, this changes, right? But this would be like the max value that you lose, right? If you decide to put a if you put a Lucky Clover on your Mosquito, then this drops down slightly. You only lose this much Magic Find, but yeah, if you're not using a Lucky Clover on your Mosquito, then you don't get any Magic Find on it, and this is like the absolute max, right? And that's what we're considering the absolute maxes. So yeah, if you have, if you're losing 100, yeah, let's just say for this example, you're losing 129 Magic Find by not using a max out G-Drag and Magic Find setup, right? And you're deciding to use Mosquito, then this gives us how much Magic Find you need with the Mosquito until the Mosquito is actually better. This comes from, we want to see when this value is equal to this value, and then with some manipulation, we can see that, it becomes this, so, X becomes this, right? That's where you get this from. So yeah, we see that at the absolute max chance for Primordial proccing and the absolute max Magic Find that you would lose by using a Mosquito instead of a G-Drag, then you would need 370 Magic Find with the Mosquito before it's actually better to use than the G-Drag. But like I said, obviously these values could change. If you don't have an absolutely max Magic Find setup, then it requires less Magic Find with the Mosquito before it gets better. In fact, if you don't have a G-Drag at all and you don't lose any Magic Find, I mean this doesn't have to be G-Drag, right? But basically, if you don't lose any Magic Find by using Mosquito compared to not using Mosquito, then obviously the Mosquito is better, right? If you have, if you lose like a little bit of Magic Find, then at a certain point the Mosquito gets better. And yeah, if you're losing the max amount of Magic Find, then it requires a lot more Magic Find until, with the Mosquito until it's actually better. It also depends on the max chance for Primordial. If somehow there's a way for you to guarantee that Primordial procs, then, it happens at a much lower value. You need much lower Magic Find until using a Mosquito and Primordial is better. But if it turns out that it's lower than that 35%, right? If somehow it's like an abysmally low chance that Primordial ever procs, then you would need thousands of Magic Find until the Mosquito is better. So yeah. These calculations, not exactly perfect. This was just kind of like a last minute thrown together thing. Also, I don't know, I haven't actually been on alpha, and I don't know if you're able to cocoon an enemy multiple times. Like you cocoon the second thing and it spawns a third enemy, and then you cocoon the third enemy to spawn a fourth one, and then you cocoon that one, and then it keeps going and keeps going. If that is the case and you're able to do that, then this is going to be like, slightly better. But yeah, that gets like a bit complicated to calculate, and I didn't really want to do that. But yeah. Bottom line is, if that does exist, then this gets like slightly better. You'll need like a bit less Magic Find until it's better. But if you can't and they cap it somehow, then yeah, this is around what you would expect. So yeah, that's about it. Please, hopefully my mic recorded this time.